Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Scagliardi, live from my kitchen. It's Monday night and I decided I was gonna make a quick snack for the teachers on Wednesday. Do you know what Wednesday is? It's Veterans Day. And for those of you who don't know what a veteran is, it's a person who is a former member of the military or the armed services. They could be a member of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, or even the Coast Guard. They could be serving during times of war or times of peace. And we celebrate Veterans Day every single November 11th as a way to honor all those people who fought for our freedom. It gives us an opportunity to show our pride and our thanks for all those members of the military who fought for us, to protect us. So what I always like to do is make a super snack to just thank veterans in general for all of their service. And I always think of red, white, and blue, don't you, when you think about Veterans Day or 4th of July or Memorial Day. So I start thinking, well, what kind of red, white, and blue snack could I make? And if you go online and Google red, white, and blue snacks or foods, there's just so many things you could pick from. There's red, white, and blue fruit salads, green salads, cookies, cupcakes, popsicles. It goes on and on and on with the recipes that you can make. But one of my favorite recipes to make for Veterans Day is called All-American Popcorn, or just red, white, and blue popcorn. However, this is not a recipe that a child or a student should do on their own. You really do need to have a grown-up for this. I know I say that a lot with my cooking, but this one is a little bit hot and you could get burned because it's a little bit like making candied apples and you would never want to do that alone. So definitely have a grown-up with you. Let me show you what you could do if you want to make a red, white, and blue snack for Veterans Day that you can either have for yourself or share with some veterans that you may have in your own lives. So the first thing you need is popcorn. Now you can pop your own, or you could do the easy cheat like I did and buy this big giant bag of Skinny Pop. I like to get this at Costco. There's a lot of popcorn in a bag like this. So this is what I started with. Then you're going to need some red Jell-O and some blue Jell-O. You're going to need some Karo corn syrup. You're going to need some butter and a little bit of salt. And finally, a little bit of sugar. So what you'll do is you'll take your Skinny Pop popcorn and you will fill it into a tray about this big. And you could fill it a little more than this, and that would be about 10 cups of popcorn. So for 10 cups of popcorn, popped popcorn, this is the recipe. You're gonna put a half a stick of butter, and it doesn't matter if it's soft or hard, in a pan. Pretend that this pan is on my stove right now, okay? So you're gonna put half a stick of butter. You're going to put 1 cup of sugar. Now, if you wanna double the recipe, you're gonna do 1 stick of butter and 2 cups of sugar, right? But I'm gonna make a smaller one. So then you're gonna do 1 cup of sugar into the half a stick of butter. And then you're going to take 1/4 of a cup of Karo syrup. Now, what did I do with my 1/4 cup? How is that missing all of a sudden? Oh, here it is. When you use this 1/4 of a cup and you're gonna put some sticky syrup in it, the best thing to do for a trick is just spray it with some Pam cooking spray, because then the Karo syrup will come out easily, okay? You're only gonna need 1/4 of a cup. That's it. And you're gonna dump that in. And when you spray the cup, it all comes out nice and clean, okay? Then you're going to add in just a pinch of salt, not even 1/4 of a teaspoon, maybe more like 1/8 of a teaspoon, okay? Let me see, can you see that? Let me touch my camera. There it is, okay? Just a little bit, maybe like 1/8 of a teaspoon. And then you put that on the stove and you start melting it on medium heat for 5 minutes. And while it's melting, You are stirring it constantly over the stove on medium heat. Let me show you because I have one already done. Shut this off. Okay. So you're gonna stir that. This one was already, I did one with blue. So there it is. I've got the butter, the sugar, the Karo syrup, and the little bit of salt. And this is what it looks like, okay? It's warm. And while it was cooking for 5 minutes, I just kept stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring like that. And I watched the clock and I timed it for 5 minutes. And when 5 minutes was up, I removed it from the heat, and now I'm going to add the Jell-O. If you're making red, you're going to use the red Jell-O. If you're making blue, you're going to use the blue Jell-O. Now for 10 cups of popcorn, you're only going to use half of this 3-ounce box. If you want to make a bigger tray, use 20 cups of popped popcorn, and then you would double all those other ingredients and you would use this whole bag. But I've already used half of it, so now I just have another half left. So I dump that in, and let me see if I could do this to the camera. Let me get it started, okay? This is the hard part about cooking to a camera. See how it's starting to get blue already? You're just gonna mix it around. Let me get it going, and then I'll try to show you. Because I'm right-handed, this isn't working so well. But look, see what happens? You just mix in the blue Jell-O. There it is. Do you see it? Okay? And you just mix it till it's all mixed in. And then you take your popcorn and you pour it on the popcorn, and then you mix it around. Now, here's something that's a little bit of a trick. Use a deep bowl. I also spray that bowl with a little bit of Pam, okay? Dump your popcorn in the bowl because it's easier to mix when your popcorn is in a deep bowl, because this is kind of very hot. This is like if you're making candied apples, okay? You're gonna see this coming out now. See it? I'll show what it looks like on the popcorn in a minute. And you're gonna scrape it all out. Do not touch this with your hands while it's super hot. You will get burned. Similar to when you make candied apples, okay? All right, so then it looks like this, okay? And now this is where a grown-up's gonna need to start mixing it, all right? You need to mix it probably for about 2 or 3 minutes till you get the whole thing mixed. Don't give up, just keep using that spatula. As it starts to cool a tiny bit, it's okay to get your hand in there if you're a grown-up and kind of toss it, okay? But wait for it to cool a little, otherwise you will burn your hand, all right? So I kind of just keep doing it this way, all right? And that's why you want the deep bowl, because it's going to slide around, all right? And you're just gonna keep mixing and keep mixing. When it's down on the counter, it's a little easier to do. And then I get my hands in there a little bit. Let me see if I could turn this down just a little. Maybe you could kind of see it. Now it's a little bit cool, so it's a little easier for me to move my hands in there, okay? It's not super, super hot anymore. It's just a little bit warm. And I'm really used to touching hot things, so I'm pretty good at this. As a child, do not do this unless you have on some like UGG gloves or rubber gloves that will protect your hands from anything burnt. But as you keep mixing it, just keep using that spatula if you don't want to get your hands in there. Keep mixing till it kind of cools down totally. You can feel the heat. And you want to get as much of the blue mixed in as possible so that you don't have big clumps of blue, because then it might be a little bit too sweet for you, okay? So I'm just going to keep mixing and mixing and mixing. And I sometimes at one point will start to get my hands in there. Remember I told you I'm okay with hot. If you're not someone who likes your hands to be hot, stick with the spatula, okay? You just keep moving it around and around. That's why you want the deep bowl, because if you tried to do it in that shallow tray, it goes all over the counter. Makes a big mess, okay? So then it looks like that, okay? And you take your tray, throw away a regular, make sure you sprayed it so it won't stick, and you dump it back into there, okay? Like that. And then you pop it into like a 225-degree oven for about 5 or 10 minutes till it kind of dries it out. I already made some. So you make a tray of blue, then you do that same recipe and you make a tray of red. And then when you put it together, you have red, white, and blue, or all-American popcorn. And after it dries out for about 10 minutes at 225, you let it cool completely, and then you can either bag it in little baggies, or you could put it in fancy little containers if you want to give it away to a veteran with a thank you note for all that they serve, for serving our country. Lots of things you could do on Veterans Day. You could read a book, and I know a bunch of our teachers are going to be sharing Veterans Day stories with you this year. So I think they'll be sending that out on through your Chromebooks. You could raise money for a cause. I do know of one cause called boxestoboots.org. If you want to look up a cause that you might want to get involved in, and they send boxes of treats to the troops. You could attend a parade, but there aren't going to be any this year because of COVID, but in other years you could. You could talk about freedom, you could talk about sacrifice with your family, or you could just thank a veteran with a nice note or by making some kind of special treat and sharing it with them. Now, here's my finished product of the one. Remember I said, here's my red, white, and blue popcorn. So it was 1 tray of red and 1 tray of blue, just like I showed you. And once it got dried out, so it was 1 tray of this and then 1 tray of red, dried it out in the oven, and now it's like super, super, super crispy. And even if you get like big clumps like this, you can still break it apart before you eat it. Make sure you wash your hands though, okay, before you touch all this. Wear a mask if you're gonna be giving it away as a treat. This is for us though, and I'll make another batch for the teachers. I know my son would want this batch. And then you've got your red, white, and blue. I'm telling you, here, it's crunchy, and delicious. It's sweet though. So if you're not a lover of sweet popcorn, this might not be the thing for you, but give it a try. Anyhow, a nice fancy way, if your moms and dads ever go to get those fancy coffees, you can save the container, rinse it out. It's a great way to give away a sweet treat, right? Look at this. I can maybe do this. I always want to make it look like pretty, right? What does Mrs. Gagliardi always say? You eat with your eyes. Look at that. Wouldn't that be awesome to give away to a veteran with a thank you note, thanking them for all they did to keep our country free? Or you could use a container like this. You get these at the dollar store, put a fancy bow on it, put a little baggie inside, fill that up. If you're not someone who's going to be doing this because you think it might be a little too dangerous, another really interesting, easy recipe would be take some pretzels, any kind of pretzels that you have. I just happen to have these square ones. And then remember those candy wafers we used many, many times before? Melt some blue ones, melt some red ones, melt some white ones, and then look. Red, white, and blue, and I put some sprinkles on it. All I did was pick up the pretzel after the chocolate was melted, melted it in, put it down, sprinkled some sprinkles on it, and then here I have some red, white, and blue pretzels. Look at that. That's another great treat that anybody could make, right? And so maybe that one is the one that I might want to dump into here. Oops, a little bit stuck together. There they go. In there, and I could put that on the top. And my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, served in the Army, so I could send these over to his house on Wednesday with a little thank you note for Veterans Day. So look at that, 2 quick treats. Red, white, and blue chocolate covered pretzels, easy enough to make, or red, white, and blue all-American popcorn. This one's really kind of a fun one to try with your families. Can you really see that? I'm trying to look, but it's sometimes hard for me to tell if the camera's showing the red, white, and blue. Anyhow, here's a recap of the recipe again. If you want to give it a try, you're going to use 10 cups. Oh my gosh, why is this so Seems like it's really bright. So you're gonna have 10 cups of the popped popcorn, 1/4 cup of butter, 1/4 cup corn syrup, 1 cup of sugar, 1/8 or a pinch of salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon or a pinch of salt. Milk that in the pan 5 minutes, medium heat. Keep stirring, take it off. Add in half of the box of either the red or the blue Jell-O, and then pour it over the popcorn, and then bake it at 225 for like 10 minutes. It just dries it out, that's all. And then once it's completely cooled, you can package it and give it away for Veterans Day. So hopefully you're enjoying all the stories you're gonna hear from the teachers who are gonna share their stories this time, and maybe do one of these recipes on Wednesday when you happen to be home for Veterans Day, if you can. And if not, you can do it another day when you might have time. And if you don't like any of those recipes, go online and look for something else. There's always a red, white, and blue salad. You know, blueberries, apples, raspberries. There you go. You've got your red, white, and blue salad. You gotta chop the apples up so you see the white part on the inside. But anyway, it's a really fun way to celebrate Veterans Day. I hope you all do something super special on Wednesday. Maybe try my recipe. And until next time, happy reading and happy cooking. Bye-bye.